Hey, welcome back. I said I wanted to talk about Abraham Hicks and like Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, and I'm gonna add the Tethered Soul, the Untethered Soul. There you go. Because I feel like in the last year, all these books have been helpful. The Untethered Soul, low key though, I literally just listened to the audiobook like a couple days ago. And it was funny because when I listened to it, I knew that I was going to put out my last video. And then it was funny because it's like, oh, wait, I said a bunch of stuff in that video that like relates to this. So this is like a perfect jump off for like, I guess, getting more in depth in those different concepts. So I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's going to work out. So when I do this one, it'll just like tie in perfectly. That worked out. so Um, so I'm just gonna give like first like my opinion slash synopsis on a little bit about these books and then like how they helped me, and then I'm gonna put some links in the description that are um, with the books. There are people who do like animated book reviews, and I really think those are helpful, especially for like big self-help books that people talk about you should read. It's like, well, let me go watch the like 5-10 minute recap, see if like I get all the information I need from that, or if I really do need to like read the book or listen to the book. And then I'll go ahead and link some of the audiobooks on there because YouTube has them, like, legit. I don't know about that copy infringement or nothing, but use it while you got it. So yeah, and then Abraham Hicks stuff always has like all kinds of little snippets all over YouTube and the internet. There'll be just like 10 to 15 minute ones, and then there's a lot of animated channels that have like come up and they do animated versions. Um, so let me give you that background a little bit about why. So Jerry and Esther Hicks are like a married team who wrote like all these books on law of attraction. And Esther goes out and will go do these like conferences, and she just will like just be like, and this is why you do this and 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 da 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 and blah blah blah, and you could be like, oh girl, I'm feeling it. Oh girl, I'm feeling it. Yes, yes, law of attraction. I need what? I didn't even know. Like, anyways, she just get you lit. If you ain't lit in life, okay, you're like, life sucks. Go listen to some Abraham Hicks, because you will just be like, I'm ready for life now. I can do anything. Like, she just gets you pumped. I'm gonna be real. Okay, that lady, she getting you pumped. So I feel like Abraham Hicks teachings are really good for the idea of, are you attracting what you're always attracting, like what you put out. And the idea of the only reason you ain't rich is because like you think you're poor inside, and you keep asking the universe for something, which means that you don't have it. So if you don't have it, the universe ain't gonna give it to you. So like that idea of, if I just say I'm in a committed relationship, if I just say that I'm happy, if I just say that, like the thing that you want, like I have all this money, and you're constantly saying, no, I'm embodying that, like I am that person, or I already have that thing, and then I have that feeling. So not necessarily saying it, but the feeling of. So if you were in a committed relationship, how would that make you feel? You would be happy, you would be glowing, you would be like, oh, I know, I'm confident, I'm secure, I'm whatever, that. Then just start acting like that. Just start acting like the feeling that that relationship will give you. Just start acting like you already feel like that. Because once you do, people will be attracted to you. A good example would be like, have you ever heard of people who they get engaged and then everybody be on their jock? They like, oh, you cute. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? And the person will be like, okay, how was I ugly like 5 minutes ago, but now I'm engaged and I'm fine as hell, all of a sudden. And it's because you're so secure in yourself. First of all, you're not hitting on people. You're just being friendly just to be friendly. You're being a nice person. You're feeling good about stuff. You're smiling. All these traits are attractive. So what will happen is you so happy and secure and confident, people are like, "Ooh, you happy, secure, and confident, and you're not even trying to get with me." Because a lot of us are told, like, when people are too overtly into them, run away, right? And again, that's also part of law of attraction, because law of attraction is about, like, you already have it. So if someone's looking at you and they're like, "I want you, I want you," what are you saying? You're telling the universe you don't have them. So what happens is like, if you really truly desire a thing or a job or a person or whatever, pretend like you already have it. Be like, "Oh, I'm already in a relationship with that person." You know what I mean? Like, I'm already in that dream job. I'm already that, the person with the $10 million. Well, maybe not 10 million. Maybe start off early, like less. Like, what was people doing a lot last year? 10,000, right? How would I act if I had $10,000? Well, a lot of times there's the part of, like, the feeling, like, oh, I would be relieved. Um, that is a big one. A lot of people think you got to be happy, like, yeah, 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 I want money. A lot of us, we don't understand. We're so stressed out. You actually need to feel relief. Like, now I don't got to worry about my bills. Now I don't got to worry. So, which is about being secure and safe, right? So, like, relationships, what is that? What is the opposite of not feeling secure? It's like, if you're insecure, it's a little bit more of, like, it might be a fear of rejection that you are having. There might be a fear of loneliness, a fear of intimacy. And so then you got to deal with that shit. Right? And then realize, oh, snap, I didn't know that I'm subconsciously coming from this fear of blank, which is only attracting other people like that. So then you'll be in a relationship with someone who also has a fear of intimacy, who also has a, rejection. You'll get a job that, because you didn't know. It's kind of like if you lie in the interview and say, "I can do this, this, and this," and then you get the job and you can only do half of those things. Right now you're stressed out all the time because you're like, "Oh, fuck, I got imposter syndrome." You can Google it if you want to know what that means. But that idea of, I got this because I'm lucky. I got this because I lied. I got this because, my nepotism, things like that. A lot of those situations make you feel like an imposter. Like, oh, I wasn't actually qualified for this. And so I need to hurry up and do things to get me to that level. But what you don't understand is, like, yeah, because you're supposed to come in with those skills. And then as you're there, grow. If you're, while you're there, just trying to get to the base level of skills you said you already had, you're never really growing, right? That's not going to make you look that great. But if you realize that, yes, you are blessed, but no, you're not an imposter. The fact that you knew the right people, the fact that you said those right things, means that there's still something about you that was on to something, right? Like, you still have a gift, you still have a thing. But if you let your thoughts tell you, "But you're an imposter, you're an imposter, you're an imposter, you're an imposter," you're not going to be feeling it. So it's that kind of thing, right? So all these books or people or whatever, they're all trying to really tap into this law of attraction thing, right? And that idea of, like, this is just a universal rule or property. And so again, you get what you put out. So if you're coming from this fear, you're only going to attract other people with similar fears. If you're radiating, "I am safe, I am secure, I am stable, I'm whatever," you'll notice that you're going to meet other people who feel like that, right? You're going to be more attracted to people like that. Those people are going to be more attracted to you. So, one thing that I really liked, what was it? I wrote it down, y'all, because I was like, oh, that was good. Y'all got me. The phrase, "this too shall pass." Y'all, it's almost like, if you really look at all these books, That's what they're also trying to teach you about thinking and the addiction to thinking. Because the reason why we're so addicted to thinking is because your your brain basically is trying to protect you. It's like an overbearing parent and a 3-year-old child, depending on the situation, right? And so there's some situations your brain is going to be like, you can't do that. You suck. Sit the fuck down. But there's other times your brain is going to tell you, you're a star, you're a winner, you're the best, right? And so when you're getting sometimes that best, you almost feel like it's an inflated ego. Or you're being selfish or something. But then you get those being selfless or beating yourself up, almost like masochistic. Like you just might as well just be hitting yourself with the flogger, right? Because it's like you're just beating yourself up. Oh, I just do everything wrong. Well, why does your brain think that you do everything right or that you do everything wrong when we know that really there's no 100% nothing? Like it's a mixed bag of emotions and experiences and events. You're probably neither of those things. And so what happens is your ego is needed because it helps you focus on things, right? We would be too scattered and we wouldn't be able to do certain things without the ego. But what happens is that mental health, this is a great way to explain this. Everyone has anxiety and depression. It becomes a disorder once you get stuck in it. So when your ego gets fixated or stuck in something, and if it persists for too long and it starts to affect your life in multiple arenas, like your job, your relationships, and other things like that, that's going to be a problem because now your mind has a cold. It's sick. And if you let it continue to be sick, that virus can turn into a disorder. And so we are seeing a lot of mental illness and mental disorders right now because of what? People being addicted to thinking, right? You sit there and this is a good example I used for a friend the other day. You know how you can be talking to someone and your ego does not come in. You're just talking and you say something, they say something. You say something, they say something. And you're completely, fully engaged. Ego don't come in. But wait until you have a conversation later and the person says something that triggers you. And you don't even know that it triggered you. But it triggered your abandonment or your rejection or your whatever, right? Because these are just common ones. So I'm just going to keep using those examples. Then what's going to happen is now your ego is going to come in the middle of that person's conversation. And now you're not listening to them anymore, right? Now you're like, oh my God. And then sometimes the person don't even say nothing. What you don't notice is that we're all looking at shit all the time. So you look at something and it reminds you of something. And you start thinking in your brain, right? And so it's a very feminine act to do things that put you into the flow, right? Because flow doesn't let you think. So like for me, I like when I talk to people that keep me fully engaged because now my ego can't come in. I just talked to you for 2 hours, so my ego couldn't come in. Thanks, friend. You know what I mean? Like, because now I've had 2 hours free of my ego coming in and trying to have a fucking chat with me. Stop. And then dancing, doing tarot shit, doing these videos. My ego can't come in. I'm fully engaged. I'm fully in the flow. Right? Okay. So that's something that I've been noticing. It's like something I learned about it. But going back to like why these books or whatever are cool or important, is Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. That's the one I listened to that audiobook almost 6 months ago, and some of that shit is still sinking in. I mean, it's just so good. I even fell asleep on it at one point and then had to like come back another day and be like, okay, let's do this again. But that one's good because there's a point where he's like, don't listen to your thoughts. They're unhelpful. At one point he was like, practically like they evil, they demons, you know, like no matter what you got to tell yourself, don't be listening to them because technically your thoughts can be helpful sometimes. It's just when it's overly chatting and constant and rom 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 no 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 no. Oh, actually, more like Charlie Brown. Womp 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 womp. That's how you gonna be seeing everybody, like, because you're just stuck in your head. You didn't hear what that person said. You're thinking. You see? So it's that coming out of the addiction. Now, that's the funny thing about addictions. It's only addiction if you're doing too much of it, right? So technically, we didn't say stop thinking. It's just bring it down. Now, some people are gonna say stop thinking, but you know you can't do that. It's like not possible. But they're gonna try to like almost like take you from one extreme to another. Oh, that's what the other thing was. Yep. So it's a pendulum swing. So your ego also likes to play what I call a devil's advocate. So say you're acting one way, your ego will tell you the opposite. I know that's like what, almost like to balance you out. So your ego is almost trying to like balance you out. That's how also the addiction to thinking sucks, right? Because what happens is, can you remember what you thought about yesterday? Can you remember what you thought about 2 weeks ago? Exactly. So why the F were you listening to it? That's 3 hours of your life you can't get back listening to that asshole. So the power of now and the untethered soul is trying to explain that to you, like for realsies. Like, stop listening to them all the time, because in the amount of time that you were listening to your ego, you could have spent 10 minutes doing Sudoku. You could have been a 15-minute clean your house. You could have done 30 minutes of reading a book. You could have been relaxing. You could have been having sex. You could literally been doing something else. Like, but then if you get stuck in it. But if say you are just doing shit and it just creeps in, that I think for me was always like the one that really threw me off, because it was like, I don't notice when it creeps in. I don't notice when I was in the flow and then all of a sudden it was like, hey, hey, na, 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 na. I'm gonna talk to you. I'm talking in your ear. You know, it's like, that was what I never noticed. I always notice, like, if you're in the shower and you keep thinking too much, you wake up and you think, well, actually, that one also got me too. Like, sometimes we don't think about when you wake up, what's your first thought? I know, that's deep. And that's why I stopped. So you can think about that. Like, what was your first thought this morning? Can you remember? And if you do, how do you think that has affected you for the rest of the day? You see what I'm saying? Like, this stuff is so next level. Oh, so next level. I love it. So, so with the, so going back to Abraham Hicks, and why I brought that up first was with the combination of understanding that you're thinking too much with that law of attraction. Like, what are you attracting? What you say and what you think and how you feel in your heart, right, has a lot to do with how you're attracting things. And so a lot of times when you're working on your consciousness, like I was working on, you know, the whole like ego death and then ego healing and reconstructing the ego for like the last year, which takes a lot of affirmations and a lot of all this other stuff, because you got to tell it to calm the fuck down. But then after that, I do notice, like, getting back into real life, it is really hard to like meditate as often as you did when maybe you weren't, when you were more like hardcore spiritually attuned. And so I started noticing like how on days that I didn't meditate, or on days that I did let the inner monologue get to be too much. But if I say out loud, like, we're not going to do this. We're not going to think about that person. We're not going to think about that event. Things like that is helpful. Like, we're letting that go. Like, actually saying it out loud and saying we. Because your ego really does think it's you. And because it does think that, you can talk to it. But you have to understand that you have to tell the ego, like, you are a part of me. Like, I have a finger, and my finger is a part of my body. But my finger isn't a separate entity that technically is me, right? No, the separate entity that technically is me is my soul. And my soul is the one running this. Okay? So, you know what I mean? So it's like, you got to tell the ego, like, yes, you are real, but only because I exist. And no, we are not the same person. This is a finger. It's a part of me. So the ego is an object, like a finger. But that's what it is. The ego is a finger. And so when I was thinking about different times I've had like legit, like, I feel like ego fights, is like when the ego don't want to shut the fuck up and you like, be quiet. Like one time I heard, I literally was doing something and the ego creeped in and I realized it was creeping in and I said, shh. I said, shh, baby. I was like, no, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do this today. I'm busy. Like, no. So yeah. So sometimes I feel like, and I feel like this is what I mean by like psychosis can come in if you allow your ego to talk too much, because then you won't really think you crazy. You can be like, okay, that is not me in there. That is literally not me. Who the hell is talking to me in there? It's going to freak you out. You know what I mean? And so if you think of it too hard, right? But the irony is the ego is the one who's thinking about it. So the ego is the one who's like, am I talking to you, making you crazy? But then thinking it's you. So there's like, oh, I'm crazy because I'm talking too much. No, because I'm not talking out of my mouth. I'm talking in here, which means it's not me. It's you, ego. Shut up. You the one. So that's why I like, so let's come back to the untethered soul. The untethered soul adds the next component, almost like a jump off from like the power of now. Because the power of now is like, yeah, like don't really listen to them because you won't get to your goals, right? Happiness is the process, is figuring things out. So tell your ego, like, yeah, help me with this, help me with this, help me with this, but don't be helping me with this, and this, because that shit makes me feel anxiety. You know, the body gets freaked out and starts sweating and shit. We don't like it. Brain, calm down. You freaking the body out. The body gets scared. Like, she got scared. She starts shaking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, calm that down. And so the untethered soul will tell you, oh, but talks more about that part, which is that the ego just had too much to do. And it's like, no, friends, don't think of the ego as like so evil, so bad. Actually, it's trying to protect you. And just like, if, you know, but I don't want to think of it like an abusive way, like if you had an abusive parent or lover and you know that they want to protect you, but you're like, but you didn't let me leave the house and you keep telling me what to do. But you don't understand, it's like we're in abusive relationships with our egos. Like, a little scary. That's what I realized from reading this book the other day. I was like, if you think about it, it's keeping you in a prison of your thoughts and telling you that that's going to keep you safe. And so your spirit is like, okay, the ego is just trying to keep me safe, so I'm going to listen. No, don't listen to your ego. It is scared, but it doesn't understand how powerful you are because it's limited in its thinking. But it needs to be limited because our spirits are in these human meat suits, and we can just trip and hit our little heads and something happen and something bleeding out, and that's unhelpful. So technically, ego, thank you for making sure that I don't trip and hit my head. You know what I mean? It's like, give the ego its actual job description, not all these other things to do. So when you do the whole like, ego, I don't need you to worry about my relationships, but I do need you to help me when I get in the car how to get from point A to point B. I don't need you to tell me how to do this, but when I'm at work, like, I'm trying to do shit efficiently as possible. Handle that. Right? Like, handle it. Like, but you know what? I'm going to take this other shit off your plate. One way I do that is we can't think about it unless we're going to do something about it right now. Woo, that's been so helpful, y'all. Because it'll be like, am I going to text that person right now? Or do you feel like texting them right now? Okay, then. So we stop thinking about them. Okay, you hungry? Okay, are we going to fix a meal right now? Are you going to tell me how to get to a restaurant? Because if you ain't, then stop telling me. I'm not where I'm supposed to be in my career. Why are you telling me about that? Unless you're about to help me write down my dissertation. You know what I mean? Like, shut up. Thank you. You will notice your ego gonna be shut the fuck. Like, at first, not really. But after a while, you'll be like, okay. Okay, the ego kind of fucking hurt me. So, there we go. When reading these books or listening to the audiobooks, and things like that, you can take notes. You can write down certain feelings. Like, I'm telling you, I got like notes full for days. Like, we can continue to sit here and talk, y'all. No, don't play. I realized that because I do want to make this shorter, it's harder for me to actually like explain concepts fully. So that's why I like to link things in the description. But we can always build upon these concepts later. But I just want to like get into that first, like, the part in the Untethered Soul when they talk about like, you know, we're on this little blue planet spinning in space. I really like that because it reminds me of Men in Black, when the movie where it's like, oh, our solar system is in a marble that an alien is playing with in another universe. So our universe is actually inside of another universe. It's almost like Inception. Is it a dream within a dream within a dream? What if human life was a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream, and the original dreamer is Source? Like, what? What? Or maybe we are in a locker somewhere, like, again, Men in Black, when they're like, the little people was in the locker at the train station, and I was like, oh, that threw me off. You know, so I love that idea of just like, well, we really don't know. Like, even though I'm gonna tell you, like, this is spiritual stuff that I believe about the fairies and the angels and stuff. You don't gotta believe me. Like, you don't know if I'm right. But if you feeling it too, come on over to the side. Right? But if you don't feel that and you were like, nah, it's probably some other stuff. Or if you're like non-theistic and you're like, no, there's no God, there's no nothing. We just die, my nigga. Like, we just die. Like, the actual only thing that continues on is if you wrote a book, and if your bones are able to become mulch to help the trees. Like, that is the only energy we leave in here. Okay? Like, and that's cool too. But I didn't realize it's easier to, I hate to say it, but once you've fallen into a trap once, it's easy to fall into it again. So what happens is like, I am always constantly trying to watch myself on like, are we about to fall back? We don't want to fall back into that thinking. That's why I'd be having these post-its up and shit. I'll be like, we ain't gonna do this. It's called preventative health care. We not gonna do this. We not gonna do this. We're not. Okay. So, seriously, this ego stuff, I know I'd like put in like a personal anecdote that has made this video longer, and now I've talked for 10 more minutes. But I feel like I just want to put in that emphasis of like, a lot of people talk about ego death, and it's like, it's not a death, it's a rebuilding. You realize your ego got sick, and there needs to be antibiotics, or there needs to be, you know how like if your stomach hurt, you can go eat some ginger, and you feel so much better. Or like garlic in your food, you just feel so much better because it's like cleaning your insides. It's like, what is the garlic and the ginger and the lemon juice for your brain, right? Like, because it's like, I'm not trying to take medication, but I want a natural remedy, right? And so one of those ginger and garlics for your brain is meditation, and is purging out this stuff. and getting into the flow so your brain isn't doing too much other stuff and doing things that you're passionate about and make you happy and excited and ready for life. And when you wake up in the morning like, bitch, I'm lit to fucking do this and this and this and this and all this other stuff, because I could die tomorrow or I could live another 80 years. But I'm planning as if I'm living another 80 years. But bitch, I'm living like I'm dying tomorrow. I'm telling you that. Telling you that, and I mean that shit. And I remember I said that phrase when I was like 12 years old to someone. I was like, man, we gotta lit. But I didn't say it like that. I was like, I try to balance my life between if I was gonna live tomorrow, or if I was gonna die tomorrow, or live for another 80 years. But now I'm realizing like, no. Live like you gonna die tomorrow. Plan like you gonna be here for another 80 years. Who's feeling that? So anyways, hope you all like this video. It's long as hell, but we out here. So yeah, so that's why the combination of these three people, books, whatever, have been so helpful, because Abraham Hicks taught me like I wasn't attracting the right things into my life because I hadn't completely aligned myself completely. Like, say you got your mind right, but your heart is still heavy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that disconnect. And like what you're saying and what you're thinking is really affecting that. And the power of now really helps you with that. And the Untethered Soul, though, puts that icing on top of like, but how are we going to deal with this, my friend? How are we going to deal with this? Okay, cool. Okay, so I feel like that was good. Because the root of all evil isn't money, it's fear. The only reason people said money is because money equals stability. If you can buy things to eat, you can buy a house for shelter, you can buy a car for transportation, so you don't have to walk somewhere, which helps your physical. Like, it buys security. And what's the opposite of security? Insecurity. So the root of all evil is fear. But you still need fear. Because what happens when the saber-toothed tiger comes? You're going to need the fear to get you the fuck out of it. But when you're afraid of things that you don't need to be afraid of, like relationships, like that job promotion, like that trip to the Cancun. Why I say the Cancun? Why I sound like an old person? My bad. Sorry, my old people. I love y'all. But yeah, but because fear also makes you feel alive. Like, getting on a roller coaster is so fun, but it's scary. Watching a horror movie is fun, but it's scary. But it's a controlled situation. You're not going to actually get hurt, right? So we know how to play, manipulate, influence fear, right? And it works out. But when you let it consume you, and your thoughts get a hand of it, and you start getting addicted to thinking, and then your thinking is fearful thinking, Lord have mercy. Did you feel that breathe? Did you feel me breathe? It's unhelpful. So if you've ever, now I'm not saying y'all had near-death experiences and stuff, like you ain't that, whatever, but your level of complexity doesn't mean anything. You still went through something, even if it's not as serious as mine, or it was much more serious. You're like, girl, you thought that was bad, girl. I went to and then someone tried to and what? You know, it's kind of like if you've ever seen the movie Precious. You're just like, all that can happen to one person? That doesn't even make sense. Like, almost. But I've known people who've gone through some shit. Actually, I believe that story. I believe everything she said happened to her. Not happened to her and her friend and Susie down the street. No, just her. Because sometimes that shit happens. Like, and so if that lady can pull her shit out, you can. You know what I mean? So a lot of times people who've been through really difficult things, when we get the fuck over it and be like, look, if I did it, you can do it too. Christ's love, okay? I walked on water and so can you, okay? When you get in that mode, we're coming out of the traps. Come out of the prison of your mind. Realize your mind can be a beautiful paradise. I love you. I love me. I love us. I love we. I'll see you soon.